What a super intriguing episode. Episode 27 of Faron Beyond Journey's End. I am super intrigued by everything around Sede, Faron, and sort of this fluctuation of power itself. It's created a massive question mark for me, and how Sede is a little bit disappointed in this one first-class mage, but yet so intrigued by Fern. It makes me question if this ability that Faron has learned that Sede is deeming as being so useless, not the flower thing, but the fluctuation and the suppressing of mana, makes me wonder if Sede tried, or at least has somewhat succeeded in that, and that Sede's real power is not being seen. And I think Fern is able to see that. But yeah, I was questioning Mark a lot in the idea of how we're going to get like one more exam into 2 episodes and have a good conclusion. But the moment that Sede stepped up, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be quick. This is going to be very quick. Fail, 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 fail. Just go down the line. Now, we haven't seen Werble, Denkin, Land, Method, and Ubel. Now, I don't think, my predictions at this point, I don't think any of them are going to pass. Now, there's a side of me that thinks that Method can, because they did show signs that Method is extremely powerful. She was able to take on Fern. Now, granted, because she knew that she could bind Fern, but it sort of implied that she stood toe-to-toe with Fern. Now, the reason why Fern was passing doesn't seem to be based on pure power. Now, Sede even said, I'm going to teach you to be a greatest mage, meaning that Fern isn't yet. But Fern has potential. So that doesn't mean that like anybody that could take on Fern should be able to pass. So don't get me wrong there. Ubel, that's a good question mark. And even Denkin I don't think is going to be at all passing. I just don't see Denkin passing. I mean, again, he's not that powerful. He is powerful, let's not get wrong, but he's not like super powerful or anything like that. I don't think he has really anything about him that makes him unique and special anyway. He's just very smart, he's very wise, and yes, he does have some, he has have some firepower behind him to kind of help him out here, but very question mark. Now, I can see Ubel's ability and her ability to see through things to be intriguing to Sede. And that might be something that Sede will pick up on, that you have that capability, and maybe she'll even try to pull something like that off on Sede when she's in there. Like, Ubel will try to understand her to learn her abilities, and then Sede's going to figure it out. That's actually a good point. I kind of wonder if Sede is going to give Ubel the same offer. Because in this exam, the only 2 characters that we've seen some sort of extremely unique ability is Ubel and Fern. Again, Fern because she's able to see something that nobody else can see, and Ubel because she's broken, her potential is like limitless. We've established that already. Sense has said that. She is literally scary. She is broken because everything is visual, and she's able to break past that barrier that mages have. So Ubel might actually catch Sense's attention, but everybody else I think is failing. So Ubel may pass, and then Fern, and that's it. That's the only people that are going to pass, which is still at this point really annoying. The fact that Sede is not going to pass Faron is still annoying. And now Faron knew it, so it's not a shock. It kind of lessens the blow in the idea that Faron's like, she's not going to pass me. No matter what, she will fail me. No matter what I say, she will fail me. And that's the sense here, is that it seems like Sede seemingly is doing it out of spite. Like, like she put it, I'm not going to become the mage that she wants me to be, so she's going to fail me no matter what. But she'll pass you no matter what, because she's going to see the potential in you, and she's going to pass you. The potential I see, she'll see. But it's still annoying, because if you think about it, like the idea of Faron, again, somebody that has literally assisted in defeating the Demon Lord, despite the fact that she trained for so long. That was very interesting. We'll get into that in a minute. She took down the Demon Lord, and seemingly most everybody in that room, it seems to imply that Sede believes that one old guy, the first class, has a chance of beating Faron. But it seems to imply that she could technically take them all on. But yet, she's not powerful enough to be considered a first class. It's weird. And again, I think it just all comes down to Faron is not what I want her to be. She has potential to be incredible, and she won't do what I want her to do, so out of spite, I'm going to fail her. Because she has no potential, too. That's also a thing here. Fern has potential. Faron doesn't, because she won't bend. She's gone this long without bending to what I want her to be, thus she'll never have potential. I'll never pass her. It's crazy. It's crazy, more crazy to think that she's passed others. Others have passed. She even assigned that first class mage, the first one, despite the fact knowing that he will never have potential because he's never going to grow old. He's going to grow old and he's going to die. I should never pick on I like that fact that she does point out, like, I should never, ever get a human apprentice. Fern, be my apprentice. Be my apprentice. I'm going to break that really quickly there. Interesting stuff. But yeah, let's get into this proper, and I can break things down as we go along. But yes, opening up with pretty much the aftermath of the previous exam. I did like this little brief scene with Richter and Denkin. Denkin coming in there. It's very quickly establishing here that Denkin sees potential in Richter. He sees himself in Richter, really. Coming in there and pretty much, prodding at him, really just trying to give him a pep talk. Like, I think he went there to basically tell Richter, don't give up. You're going to be extremely powerful. In 3 years, you're going to be more powerful. Yeah, you're going to be dead too. He's like, Denkin, you're old. You're going to be dead. But again, kind of seeing himself in Richter. I honestly was very surprised that we didn't have, like, Denkin literally recruit Richter. Like, he sees potential in him. I would assume that he'd want to recruit him to work under him. This guy that has to open his shop, even though he's really mad. And he's like, come work under me. I'll make sure that you're taken care of. You have potential. You're like me. But it seems like he just wanted to give him a pep talk. And yes, once again establishing who is Loffen. Who is Loffen to Denkin? Like, Grandpa's like really bad at communicating to people. Yeah, it kind of is. It does make me kind of wonder if Loffen is legit Denkin's granddaughter. Or if it's just an aspect that, they've always been together and she just calls him Grandpa. That's just kind of a common thing there. Even though you're not really, related, you're still going to call him Grandpa. Always getting donuts from him. Like, she's been her entire life getting donuts from Denkin. It's kind of cute. But yeah, then we have Stark gets confronted by Fern. She's mad. Pouty face again. Oh no, they have that old guy there again saying, I have nothing to teach you. He's like, why do you keep coming here and saying that? But yes, he's got to figure out how to help Fern. He's tricked into feeding Fern again. Again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Stark, Farron, stop feeding into this. Stop feeding into her, like, pouty face. She's going to keep using it. But yes, it's all about the staff, which I thought this was super sweet. The idea that, yes, I completely forgot about it. Her staff was completely destroyed, and it was something that was given to her by Hyter. And it gets into that whole thing again that Farron has a problem with expressing emotion and handling emotions. And it's an obvious case. It's literally been the last 26 episodes or 27 technically at this point, is Farron's inability to really convey and control emotions like other people do. She seems emotionless, but it's obvious that there's something in there. And Hyter acknowledged that. He's seen that she has a problem with this. But despite that, there's a good side of the whole thing, is that she is somebody that will always be thinking about you. I think it is sort of, and this is me kind of drawing conclusions out of it, it is sort of that thing of not being able to understand or control emotions the way that other people do, but that sort of plays into her sort of dwelling on it more. It will cause difficulties and disagreements, but one good thing about it, she will worry and care about you just as much. Despite the fact that you don't see it because she can't express it, it's still happening. That's the great thing about it. She doesn't know how to express that emotion, but it's still there. It is still there. That's what makes her such a great master, and she's always going to be worrying about you just the same. It's super good. And yeah, having her come in there and see that staff, I got super emotional seeing that staff sitting there, and I know that how much it meant to Fern. Like, this is something, I mean, even Richter kind of pointed out, this is something that was very well crafted and very well taken care of. He acknowledged how important it was. It's a nice little brief moment of, yes, showing how important it was to Fern and how much he put into it, but additionally showing about how Richter acknowledges something like that, despite the fact that, yes, we keep pointing out that Richter's this mean person, but no, he's actually got a good side in him. He actually spent the time to put it. I could have made more money if I actually sold a staff, but he went through the trouble. I like how Farron tricked him into it. Is that old trick, the idea of, oh, well, if you can't do it, just tell me. Damn it, stop, you irritate me. But yeah, that's when we get into the final exam itself. My gosh, where do we start? The opening sequence where we have essentially Sere walking in, which, yes, finally get the acknowledgement. I was wondering what this whole thing with the cloak and the OP, I thought it was like some creepy monster thing was putting the cloak on, but no, it was just, it was Sensa's hair. I thought they were like weird hooks, but no, it was always Sensa's hair. But yes, technically in the manga, it kind of shows Sere first coming in and Sense takes the cloak off. And so yeah, later on when he goes to leave, Sense puts the cloak back on. I like that there was like a brief moment of kind of showing how Sense seemingly likes Sede, because Sede thinks similar to her. And the idea that Sede is like, too many people passed. I know that you like doing this thing, but because Farron was a part of this, it's not your fault. Farron is this anomaly. She messed it up. It's Farron's fault. But also kind of pointing out that, yeah, if we do the normal third exam, all of these people are going to die. These people were way too ill-equipped for this exam. They just got through because Farron helped them. Which, again, I like that they're actually acknowledging this. These people aren't stupid. They fully acknowledge, like we do as the viewer, that, yeah, there's a lot of people that passed. Like, I mean, sorry, she's cute and everything, but Kane is not powerful. Kane is not of the equal. Like, if you put Kane up to Sense, that's not an equal here. Sense would destroy Kane. Most every single person that has passed, Sense would destroy. And so you don't see them as equal, and they shouldn't actually pass. And they're acknowledging that. Sense is acknowledging that, yes, or Sede is acknowledging, yes, I know what you're doing there. Under normal circumstances, it would work out. And Sede also likes the test that Sense does. It's just because Farron's involved, it breaks it in a sense. Because what Sense was doing an exam that would bring more people that would cooperate better. That all the first class mages that Sede has right now are just people that just do their own thing. They're not good at cooperating with each other. And so yes, Sede is like, yeah, I would actually appreciate to have some of these people that are working together like you've tested them. It's just Farron breaks everything. And so we have to weed this out. And I like how Sede's like, and I don't want to just send him off the typical third exam because they're all going to die, and I don't want senseless death. Just like Sense. She's like, Sede-sama. It shows that Sense likes the idea that Sede is like her. A pacifist in a sense of not wanting just mindless bloodshed. Doesn't want to see pointless death. So it was kind of a cute little thing there. But yeah, it gets into how powerful Farron is. And Sede points out that they're going to take over this last exam. I'm just going to choose. And yes, technically Farron does point out that, yeah, Sede has like this intuition, and it's never wrong. So yes, he's going to fail me, and they're not wrong. Since Sede is very, very knowledgeable and has that intuition that she can know just by looking at people if they're good enough or not. And yes, she points over to the first class mage and says, you know that she's powerful too. Yeah, I sensed it. I sensed this fluctuation in her mana. The other guy's like, no, she's not suppressing her mana. I would have noticed it. Everybody notices it. Everybody has this fluctuation when they try to use that technique. Now, here's where things get interesting, because it's all in how it's worded, and I had to check the manga as well. And what I'm getting from watching the show and the translation there and the manga itself, and I could be wrong if you're a manga reader and you know way ahead where it clarifies this, I don't need to know in the comments. This is just me speculating at this point, and I think this is a good point to speculate on it. The way they're wording this is specifically saying, whenever you try to do this suppression, it causes a fluctuation. You'll see this fluctuation, and you'll notice that they're suppressing their mana. And then it gets into the idea later on as Sede leaves, even though this guy seen that fluctuation in Farron's mana, he said it was just luck. I just happened to see it. As Sede leaves, she's speaking as if she's disappointed in this guy because he never seen her fluctuation. He never sensed her fluctuation, whereas Fern sees it. Fern notices that little subtle fluctuation. She's able to see it, and that's what inspires Sede to go, I want you to be my apprentice. That's all it took. You've seen something nobody else seen. You have potential. I'll make you one of the greatest mages ever. So it makes me question mark, because in this whole scene where Sede is talking to the first class, she's pointing out that yes, Farron has spent a large portion of her life focusing on suppressing her mana. It's a useless technique. No, everybody's like, there's no practicality to it. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense to anybody. She was doing it purely to take down demons. Her whole thing, what Sede says is that Farron is, according to her age, extremely lacking in skill. Like, for her age, she should be incredibly powerful, just like me. But she wasted all this time learning how to suppress her mana. Like, we've seen that. It was like she learned how to flammel, and then she spent this long time just sitting there training her mana. And then Flammel comes back, and she's old, and she's about to pass away. oh, you're still working on it. Like, she wasted this long period of time just focusing on it, and probably far into the future after that. And Sere says, it's a useless technique. It was only to defeat demons. Despite the fact that she's not skilled, she's using that to kill them, because people's worst weakness is essentially not seeing their opponent as powerful. They're underestimating their opponent, and that's how she's winning. But now here was the interesting little drop. They just like threw this right in here. I know I'm getting sidetracked from the initial point. We'll get back into it. The little thing that is dropping here is that the Demon Lord immediately noticed it. At first sight, they immediately noticed that she was suppressing her mana. So that completely destroys this idea that they've been kind of drawing this entire time, that Farron was able to trick the Demon Lord, and that's why they beat the Demon Lord. No, the narrative is shifting from the initial thought process here is that Himmel and all them went in there, and the Demon King is looking at them all and sees Farron and goes, who the hell are you? You have no mana. I've never heard of you before. Okay, let me focus on Himmel and all them. And then Farron blasts him. And it kind of hinted at it in the last exam that, yes, Farron was pushed to her limits when she fought the Demon Lord. So it wasn't a simple blast and he was dead. No, this is now implying I beat the Demon Lord because Himmel was with me, because Heiter was with me, because Eisen was with me. I was not alone. I had comrades. So it's going more in the idea that, yes, they all did it together. Now, it could be that Farron is trying to not take all the credit because she understands how important her friends were. And she's being humble, basically. I still think in the end, Himmel, Heiter, Eisen, they were all going crazy on the Demon Lord, and she's going crazy. And at some point, they probably fell, and then she got pushed to her limits, and then she went nuts. Again, something that she hasn't used ever since that fight. Some power that Fern didn't even recognize. So no, we'll see if that expands more. But again, interesting that they drop in here. Yeah, she didn't fool the Demon King. She'd never fooled the Demon King. Going back to this topic about the fluctuation. What I think they're sort of implying here is because Sere speaks about this suppression of mana pretty disdainfully. Like, she doesn't like it. It's a useless skill. It's not even practical. And plus, this Demon King did it anyways. But still has seemingly acknowledged the idea that this person, this first-class mage, never even noticed that I was fluctuating. It's kind of leading me more to the idea that I think Sere has been suppressing her mana. Does know this technique, but never fully, either never mastered it, and maybe might be a little disdainful against Farron because she figured it out, that she pulled it off. But I think it's implying the idea that she doesn't like the idea that Farron wasted all that time to suppress her mana. One, because Sere never perfected it, and thus is a little bit jealous. But additionally, could possibly have never been able to do it. It's a possibility that Sere's mana that we're seeing is not her full extent. She is currently suppressing her mana. And why I think that is because every time they mention the idea of suppressing mana, there's this side effect that people will see the fluctuation. They say it. If you're doing this, a side effect is you'll always see the fluctuation. And thus, Sere has a fluctuation. It's just that this guy can't see it, and Fern can. So it makes me believe that Sere, despite seemingly not liking that Fern wasted all that time, try to do it. It might be jealous or just can't pull it off. Because, one, not skillful enough, or two, has too much mana. So I'm thinking more in the second one, that Sere just has way too much mana. And Fern can see that. I might be wrong, but I think even when Flamel first met Farron, the reason that she chose to bring Farron under her wing is because she noticed it as well. I think, if I remember correctly, she's seen that Flamel was suppressing her mana. I know that she did it on a whim, but I think that might be part of it as well. I could be wrong there, though, so don't take my word on that. Anyways, yeah, that was super interesting, and yeah, they go and they do the exam. Sere just starts failing everybody. I felt so bad for Kane, but again, I at least acknowledge that Sere's making a good point. And again, Farron says that her intuition is perfect. Like, she has good intuition, and what she says is probably true. That yes, Kane coming in there, you never expected to be a first-class mage. You're coming in here. Now, it does imply the idea that she stopped the moment that she seen my mana. But additionally, yes, you never imagined that you'd ever be a first class. And Magic is all about envisioning things. If you can't envision that you are a first class, you'll never be a first class. So get out of here. And I think that's kind of implied to everybody else, because when she talks to Farron, she says that, yeah, everybody had the same problem. They never seen themselves as first class. So obviously everybody that follows up that, same thing. But yes, the conversation with Frieren was interesting because yes, it once again implies that idea that you won't be what I want you to be, and thus you're a failure. No matter what, I like it when she comes in there, she's like, you're expecting to lose, but it's for a different reason. Yeah, I never expected you to pass me. I just know you're not. And again, I think it plays that whole idea that I won't be what you want me to be. I won't be this horrifically powerful mage or anything like that. I'm doing my own thing, doing things the way that I see fit to do it. But yeah, it's still, still in the end like, okay, well, I'll give you a chance. What's your favorite spell? It's, of course, the Field of Flowers. Again, like I said in the last video impressions, this is literally the thing that keeps inspiring. When we see that whole flashback with Sere and Flamel, it was the same thing there. When Flamel was very young, her parents taught her this flower spell. She taught that to Frieren, and apparently, again, as well to Sere. Taught it to Frieren. Frieren then used it for Flamel's burial, but then it inspired Himmel. And we've seen that in this episode. It was actually earlier. I didn't actually think that was going to be the case. No, Himmel knew Frieren earlier, and that was because, yes, at some point he got lost. She found him, and she used that spell, which was cool because it does technically explain why Himmel came to Frieren. Yes, I think they implied the idea that they heard there was this elf in the forest, but how would he know that the elf was a mage? Again, they could have known that it was a mage or whatever, but it kind of implies the idea that Himmel knew that she was there. She helped me that one time, so I'm going to go find her. And he ends up finding her. And yes, and still, and at that point, is still inspired by that spell. But yeah, because of this spell, why I like it so much is it's the reason why my companions and everybody came together. You might think it's useless, but it's not to me. It's important to me. And yes, they were the ones that he's like, well, you're not going to be mad because I insulted you. No, it's all right. I came together because we defeated the Demon King because we were a group. It wasn't just me. It's really cool. Again, it's kind of totally opening the door to, I guess, change everything that I thought how things played out. And I really like that kind of stuff. So, and then yes, says that you're not going to fail, Fern. Fern comes in there, immediately sees the fluctuation. Sere just starts to offer, join us. I like the fact that, yeah, you were coached by Frieren. Yeah, no, Frieren knew that you were going to pass her no matter what. But again, Sere just kind of goes all in on this. You've seen that fluctuation. You have potential. Starts to offer everything to Fern. I will teach you everything. I will make you the greatest mage ever. I'll take care of you. And says, no, Frieren is my master. Fern is not going to decline Frieren as her master. It's one of those things of like being offered everything. I mean, again, Sere is leading this entire organization. This is the organization of mages. These people are rich, powerful, everything, offering you all knowledge, all spells to become the greatest ever. But no, Fern doesn't care about that. She cares about Frieren. And I think it's because Frieren knows more than anybody else that Frieren, in a sense, is more powerful than Sere. I think at this point, after this episode, Sere is incredibly powerful just based on power alone. But Frieren has something that Sere will never have. She has this knowledge, she has these experiences, and she has in there, even though she struggles with her emotions, has a heart. I don't see yet Sere having that. Despite the fact that, yes, it all implies the idea that despite the fact that she was pushing back on the whole thing with Flamel and the mages and whatnot, like a typical tsundere, chose to accept it and take upon herself that responsibility that Flamel left her, but not as much heart as Frieren has. But yeah, incredible episode. I hope I covered everything. Like I said, it was just kind of a very interesting episode, despite the fact that it was a very chill episode. Just so many kind of little reveals and I guess implying a lot of stuff, especially around Sere and her power and what she actually thinks about suppressing mana and how it kind of implies the idea that Sere is doing it. So interesting stuff. I did have one other note that, yes, technically I like how they're upset that Since let 12 people through, and it's like, but the first guy, Gunnall, he let a whole bunch of people through. Why are we upset for Since? I guess it's maybe implying the idea that for the first exam, they sort of do let a lot of people through. It's just the second exam needs to cull a lot of them out. So it is kind of interesting to kind of throw that in there. So anyways, incredible episode. Absolutely loved it. Some emotional points, especially the whole thing with the staff. I got teary-eyed. And I'm very curious to see. I was looking through the manga and I seen that, slight spoilers here, Sere is going to get to the other individuals that they have not passed or failed. So again, I'm very curious to see how that plays out. I don't know what they do, but I'm very curious what will happen. And again, I have my predictions, and I think it's going to be all of them fail and possibly Ubel Ubel may catch Sede's attention. And that would be very, very interesting. And I don't know that Ubel's going to care. Now, Ubel does like learning a lot of stuff, but I don't know if she has a desire to learn all magic. I think she just goes with whatever intrigues her. And Sede might offer something. So we'll see. But I'm curious to see how that plays out. Again, I think everybody else is going to get failed. Anyhow, that's my extremely long thoughts on this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips, links, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate it, but it does. And y'all take care.